When I decided to start collecting modern Transformers, I was looking for three things: accuracy to the cartoon, a focus on the G1, and relative scale. The Studio Series 86 seemed to fit the bill for me. It was G1 focused and very accurate to the cartoons, but I wasn't entirely sure about the scale. Hi guys, my name is Nap, and in this video we're going to look at whether the Studio Series is currently getting the scale of Transformers correct. Is Hasbro nailing this? And why do we care about scale in the first place? Honestly, I hadn't realised how important relative scale was to me until I dipped into Hasbro's Red line. This was actually the first modern line I tried. It was similar to other lines I'd collected, like the Star Wars Black series, and I think I was looking for some kind of unity across my toy collection. I got Optimus, Megatron, Soundwave, but when Bumblebee came out, the line fell off a cliff, in my estimation. The bug was as big as Optimus. It just didn't seem right to me. I'm not dogging on this line, by the way. I think what it does really well. Accuracy better than the Studio Series 86. But we're all looking for different things, and it was at this point the penny dropped for me that I really was valuing scale much more than I thought. And it's crucial for me as an adult in a way that it wasn't when I was a kid. Let's face it, back in the 80s we didn't have a multitude of different lines to choose from. We had the almighty G1 lineup, which was famously a series of different toy lines imported from Japan and mushed together into one universe. The scale of the micro-change toys like Soundwave and Reflector bearing no relation to the Diaclone cars and jets. It really was all over the place. Yet I was able to jump that hurdle in 1984. Maybe my imagination was more flexible back then. In 2022, I really do need Megatron to be bigger than Soundwave and Ironhide to come up to Optimus's shoulder instead of his knee. It's also really important to me that he has a face and not a sticker.
What is wrong with your face?
To figure out if the Studio Series 86 line was getting it right in terms of scale, I started looking at various stills from the movie. The Dinobots are the most obvious. If the Studio Series toys are correct, then in the movie they should be much bigger than a standard Autobot. The first time we see them, it's not very promising in this respect. They're in the background of Optimus's shuttle as he's coming into land, and they look tiny, but it's to do with perspective. Then they're fighting Devastator, and he's massive, whoever's standing next to him. But as soon as we're hanging out with the other Autobots, we can immediately see that Grimlock is twice as tall in his dino form than the others, and Sludge in this frame is longer and wider than Hot Rod, Cup, Blur, RC, and Daniel put together. So the makers are clear from the beginning these guys are big, but there's variance. In this frame from just a few seconds before, Grimlock is not so large at all. He's in the background a bit, but certainly he's not twice as tall as Hot Rod. And that's what I found when researching the scale of G1 Transformers. There's so much variance, even within an individual episode of the cartoon, and certainly within the movie itself. You're looking to get a general sense, but it's never specific. And it varies from shot to shot. This is probably the reason that as a kid I came away feeling that the Dinobots really weren't that big in the movie. We rarely see them in robot mode either, so that doesn't help. And it's not just the Dinobots. Compare these two images of Ultra Magnus, this one from the end of the movie where he's massive, and then in this one he's a little bit taller, but nowhere near the giant he appears at the end. I was wondering if maybe the Junkions put lifts in his shoes? Some extra panels and junk in there to give him a bit of a boost. Maybe he's got a complex. We know Ultra Magnus does have a complex.
I'm just a soldier. I'm not worthy.
So when watching the movie didn't answer my questions definitively, I started looking for scale references and found several on the wiki. This one in particular really is the best, I think, since it's obviously from the pre-production stage of the film and shows that, yep, the Dinobots are meant to be huge. Helpfully, it also shows them in robot mode hovering head and shoulders over the others. If we take this image as truth, then the current Studio Series 86 Dinobots are accurate. But continuing the theme, the next image contradicts this. This is from the IDW ARC books that examine the animation models in detail. The Dinobots are taller than Optimus, but not a heck of a lot taller. I'm focusing a lot on the Dinobots since they're the really obvious attempt at scale for the line, but there are other barometers like RC. In this reference, she's about half the size of Hot Rod, Blur or Cup, but in the actual movie this doesn't seem to be the case as far as I can see. Once I have RC in hand, she's due next month at time of recording. It'll be interesting to see what Hasbro have decided how she measures up. But whether they're getting it exactly right or not, I do feel confident in saying that they are prioritizing scale, which was one of the main reasons for starting to collect the line. However, you never know with Hasbro. Suddenly they throw in a curveball like the upcoming Core Class Ratchet. Now I'm just getting up to speed with the various class categories in Transformers, what they traditionally mean. But in terms of the Studio Series 86, I thought Core Class was intended to bring us characters like Daniel and Wheelie that were on the smaller side, but Ratchet is actually one of the bigger Autobots. This made no sense to me until I started looking at what Core Class actually is, and it's, I think, not only is it to do with scale, it's to do with bringing any Transformer to the paying public at a lower price point. So that kind of makes sense. But in terms of the Studio Series, that was a curveball for me. I thought these are the little guys, like the mini-bots from the original G1. The little guys go in the Core Class. Not so, apparently. Here comes Ratchet. So what I've learned when it comes to Transformers scaling is that it's up to the teams at Hasbro to make a choice. And then it's ultimately up to us as collectors to decide whether that choice feels right or not. For me, I feel like the Dinobots are a little too big and Spike is not small enough. But they're in the right ballpark, and I'm happy to go with what the producers have decided for now. I think someone has to make that call, don't they? And if there's no objective truth, then it's always going to be a judgment call and somewhat subjective. But what about you? Is the Studio Series 86 getting it right in terms of scale right now? Are there particular characters you feel that they've missed the mark on? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't yet, please do sub up. I've been Nap Yet, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!